So the Daytona 500 is on this weekend, the first race that is competitive for the actual championship of the NASCAR Cup Series season in 2025. After being at the Madhouse, now we head to the lottery, as I call it. Anybody can win this race. It's such an incredible event to behold. The Great American Race, as we hear it so often, of course. But for the first time in 2025, let's have a look at the 5 drivers that I'm looking forward to seeing the most during this race. So, first of all, let's start with the most successful driver on the grid in terms of overall wins at the Daytona 500, and that is, of course, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is someone who I'm looking forward to seeing this weekend. He's been very vocal in his kind of opposition to the world-class driver rule, as it were. Now, it's been a little while since he last won the 500. His last victory coming in 2020, of course. At the end of the day, he's still, in my opinion, a driver that should definitely be in the playoffs this season. That should be his ambitions. I see no reason why he can't do this. And this is, of course, one of his best tracks of all time as well. So we'll see how Hamlin gets on, of course, during this season's race. But let's move now to a driver who is a rookie, a complete rookie in NASCAR. But he is assured of a place in the 500 because of the aforementioned world-class driver rule. He is an OEM, I believe the term is, and that is Helio Castroneves. At the young age of 49, he's making his NASCAR Cup Series debut this weekend. He is assured of a place on the grid. He is not driving for a chartered team, but come what may, in the qualifying and also the qualifying race as well, the duels as they are called, he will be on the grid no matter what. Now, that might be as the 41st driver or the 40th driver or anywhere up to 37th effectively in terms of actually his qualifying. But at the end of the day, he is a fantastic driver. He is someone who has won the Indy 500, I believe, more times than anybody else. I think 4 victories overall, which is just incredible, really. Trying his hand at NASCAR, it's a great look for the series, really. Whether you agree with the world-class driver rule or not, it's great to have a driver like Helio in the race. But somebody that we may not see during this race, but I'm going to highlight them anyway just in case we do see them, is Jimmie Johnson. Now, Jimmie Johnson, of course, is a legend of the sport, and a lot of people think that really he should have been given the world-class driver entry rather than Helio Castroneves. That is a debate for a different video. I've already spoken about that new rule, of course, in a separate video here on the NASCARchronicle.com. Johnson has won here twice previously, in 2006 and 2013. These days, of course, he's only a part-time driver. He's more involved as a part owner of the team, of course, as well these days. He is not assured of a place on the grid, but let's see how he gets on because there are 4 spots up for grabs, but he will have to compete with the likes of Castroneves and also Martin Truex Jr., a former champion as well in his own right too. I hope Johnson does make the start. It'd be a bit bad if he doesn't do it personally. It'd be kind of sad to really see him try and qualify for an event and doesn't quite manage it, but I think he'll be on the grid for what it's worth. I think he'll get one of those 4 spots come what may, to be perfectly honest, but we'll see how he gets on this weekend. Someone else who is relatively inexperienced in NASCAR terms is, well, I'm not saying Johnson's inexperienced in NASCAR terms, that's more a reference to Castroneves before anybody calls me out on that, is Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG is competing in his first full-time season of NASCAR racing and his first Daytona 500 as well. Of course, last season he did compete in the Coke Zero 400, which also takes place at Daytona, but that is the summer/autumn race of this track's kind of participation in the NASCAR calendar. You know, SVG is a lot better around road courses and street tracks, of course, we know this, but it's going to be great to see how he can kind of hang with the fast runners around this race and with all the stages and all the pit stops and everything. The strategy is going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to seeing how SVG gets on in his first ever Daytona 500. And the last guy I'm going to highlight, someone who has never won the Daytona 500 before, but that is not through lack of trying. Someone who I would say is the favourite for the championship this year. It's not the defending champion Joey Logano, no, it is Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, for me, overall throughout this season, was probably the best driver in the NASCAR Cup Series season in 2024. Like I said, he's never won the 500. I don't believe he's ever won around this track. He might have won the Coke Zero 400 at some point, but I know he's definitely not won the Daytona 500. And you know, for a great driver like him in NASCAR, it'd be so good for him to tick off the Great American Race, the race that is the biggest one on the NASCAR calendar. And of course, the first race of 2025, and a victory would see him through to the playoffs pretty much come what may in the remainder of the season. Win and you're in. So let's see if he manages to do it. But yeah, those are 5 of the drivers that I'm looking forward to seeing the most this weekend in the Daytona 500. Who is yours, guys? Let us know in the comments below. I'm just so glad that NASCAR is back for the first competitive race of 2025. If what we saw at the Madhouse is anything to go by, it's going to be an excellent season, a very competitive season, and a season that is filled with drama, no doubt as well. But yeah, see you soon for some more NASCAR stock content right here on the NASCARchronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.